Franchise audiences are really different because you're not just speaking to employees, you're speaking to business owners who have chosen to build their own businesses inside a much bigger brand. Every decision they make, it has to balance what's best for their local market with what's best for the brand that they actually represent. I've had the privilege of keynoting for organizations like KOA, Choice Hotels, and Great Clips, and I've learned that franchise owners, they don't want generic motivation. They want really practical ideas that's going to help them grow their business, strengthen all of their people, and ultimately execute the brand's vision more effectively. That's a very different conversation than speaking to a corporate audience. The same stories often don't get the same reactions in a franchise room because owners immediately start asking, how could this work in my location? They're thinking about profitability, they're thinking about culture and recruiting, they're thinking about customer experience and that long-term growth all at the same time. And so when a keynote acknowledges that unique balance between entrepreneurship and brand stewardship, the message starts to land totally differently because franchise owners know that you understand the world that they operate in. Spending 8 years with Great Clips gave me something most keynote speakers never get. Because I wasn't invited just one time to go in there and speak. I got to watch how a franchise system actually operates over time. I got to see how franchisees, they have to balance those brand standards with running their independent businesses. I saw how field leadership supports owners through all the changes that everyone has to go through. And I also learned that the best ideas in a franchise system are the ones where owners actually believe that they're worth implementing, not just the ones that are announced from corporate stages. And that experience shapes every franchise keynote that I give today, because I'm able to connect the leadership principles to the real decisions that franchise owners have to make every single day, because I've spent years watching those decisions happen. If you're choosing a keynote speaker for your franchise convention, don't just ask who's the most entertaining. Ask who's going to help your owners leave believing that they can actually execute your conference message. Because a franchise keynote has one job and one job only. It should create momentum for the initiatives that your leadership team is asking your owners to implement. That's why I love spending so much time with leadership before every event to learn where the organization is headed, all the challenges that franchisees are facing, and then ultimately what conversations need to continue after everybody gets home. Every franchise system is different. The message that I go and deliver for KOA should never sound like the one I deliver for Choice Hotels or Great Clips. Owners know when a keynote has been customized for their brand, for their businesses, and they also know when it's just another presentation with their logo added to the slides. The most meaningful feedback that I get, it never comes immediately after I step off the stage following my keynote. It comes about 60 or maybe 90 days later when franchise leaders tell me that the keynote changed the conversations happening inside their organization. And it started to change that verbiage that everyone was using with that mindset about finding their next gear. I've had leaders tell me that their franchisees began embracing initiatives that had been sitting on the shelf for months because they finally understood the why behind the change. I've heard from franchise owners who said that their managers started coaching with more of that common language instead of just their personal opinions. And I've had executives teams that have told me that they have spent way less time trying to convince their franchisees to move and way more time supporting them because momentum had already started since convention. That's what I hope every franchise convention ultimately creates. Not a standing ovation, not a motivational high, all those things are great, but I want a shared language that helps thousands of independent business owners move in the same direction without losing what makes each of them really successful. Because when that happens, the keynote, it doesn't end when the lights come up. It becomes part of how the franchise system leads long after the convention is over.